week 4 of RE on TV. I'm Miss Jess. Welcome to this quiet place of beauty. We come from busy things, pausing for a moment for the thoughts that quiet brings. This week, we're listening to our ancestors. Our faith reminds us that deep listening to people is important, so much so that it's one of our UU sources. Words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. But that's not just for prophetic people. It's also wise people. And our faith tells us that some of the wisest people are older people. Or as our faith calls them, elders. They have many years of life experience. Listening to their many journeys helps us navigate our own. So, what's one of the ways our faith guides us into becoming a people of deep listening? It tells us to listen to those who have come before. Listen to the elders. This week I'm going to light our chalice because I want to show you something special we do in our family. For our family and for some UUs, late October can be a time of remembering those who have died, either recently or a long time ago. Did you know that Halloween was born from Samhain, an ancient pagan holiday? Some pagans believe that during the night of October 31st, the boundary between the living and the dead grows thin, and the dead can hear and see the world of the living. I guess that's kind of like where ghosts got their start, but it isn't a scary thing. It's a time when your ancestors can hear you honoring their memory. While our family doesn't share this particular belief, we do use Samhain as a time to honor those who have died and remember them as a way of listening to and letting their voices live on. We create an altar with pictures, mementos, and other symbols of their lives, and we light candle in remembrance of them to honor them. This is our family's altar. And now I'll light the chalice. We light this chalice for our grandmothers, grandfathers, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, for all those we hold dear who have passed on and are now among our ancestors. We remember you with stories, we keep you alive in our hearts, and we listen deeply to your wisdom. There is your spark eternal, an ember cherished, a light passed from one generation to the next. Okay, so today I have a story of the elders for you, and it goes like this. When the earth was newborn, it was plain and without any features or life. There were no rivers or mountains, no trees, no grasses, only flat red earth as far as the eye could see. Except there weren't even any eyes for seeing. Waking time and sleeping time were the same. There were only the hollows on the surface of the earth, which one day would become water holes. Around the water holes were the ingredients of life. Underneath the crust of the earth, there were stars and the sky, the sun and the moon, as well as all the forms of life, all sleeping. All the tiniest details of life were present, yet not awake or alive. The head feathers of a cockatoo, the thump of a kangaroo's tail, the gleam of an insect's wing, the rustle of eucalyptus leaves in the wind. A time came when time itself split apart, and sleeping time separated from waking time. This moment was called the dream time. At this moment, everything started to burst into life. The sun rose through the surface of the earth and shone warm rays onto the hollows. Melting ice became water holes. Under each water hole lay an ancestor, an ancient man or woman who had been asleep through the ages. The sun filled the bodies of each ancestor with light and life, and the ancestors began to give birth to children. Their children were all the living things of the world. from the tiniest grub wriggling on a leaf to the broadest winged eagle soaring in the blue sky. Rising from the water holes the ancestors took up with the mud falling from their bodies as the mud slipped away, the sun opened the ancestors' eyelids. They saw the creatures they had made from their own bodies. Each ancestor gazed at their creation with pride and wonderment. Each ancestor sang out with joy, "I am." One ancestor sang, "I am kangaroo." Another sang, "I am cockatoo." The next sang, "I am honey ant." And the next sang, "I am lizard." As they sang, naming their creations, they began to walk. Their footsteps and their music became one, calling all living things into being and weaving them into life with song. The ancestors sang their way all around the world. They sang the rivers to the valleys and the sand into dunes, the trees into leaf and the mountains to rise above the plain. As they walked, they left a trail of music. They were exhausted. They had shown all living things how to live, and they returned into the earth itself to sleep. We don't see them, but they're still present in every sacred place, and their music still hums through the world. In honor of their ancestors, the Aborigines still go walkabout, retracing the steps and singing the songs, connecting this waking time to the dream time. I hope you enjoyed this Aboriginal tale. And now Miss Leah is here again to help us remember how to listen.
I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open, eyes are wide open to see what I may be. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me.
Thank you, Miss Leah. Our special guest this week is our very own, the Reverend Dawn Fortune.
Hi, Reverend Dawn here, and Miss Jess has asked me to talk to you today about remembrance and sharing in ritual. So, remembrance is a thing that we do, and it can be a very tender, very vulnerable sort of feeling. So I want you to be in that mindset that this is not a fun rough and tumble exercise. This is an exercise where we're going to get in touch with our feelings, and some of them are going to be sad. So adults talk about loss, and sometimes what they often mean is death. Like, I can lose a pencil, but my grandmother died, But we will say sometimes, I lost my grandmother in 1983. Well, okay, I didn't actually lose her. I know where she is or where she was, but she died. And so that's when we felt that loss, okay? And one of the ways that we experience loss and we get through that painful time is by sharing our stories with each other and by listening to each other's stories. And so I want to share with you a little story, a memory of my grandmother, who was very important to me when I was growing up. When I was really little, she raised me from when I was just a little baby until I was about 9 years old. So she was really, really important to me. And so I have something that was very special to her. It's a very old book. You can see it's the Boston Cooking School Cookbook, edited by Frances Merritt Farmer. You see that? And my grandmother got this for her wedding shower in 1938. That was more than 80 years ago. Yes, 80 years ago. And in it, there are mementos from her. These are little things that remind me of my grandmother. Here's a postcard. It appears to be from India. You see that? It was from India. And there are different things. There are recipes that she cut out of the newspaper, and she put them in. This one is for scalloped oysters, and she put this in with the shrimp Newburg and the scallops Newburg, which are some of her favorite recipes. And I can tell where her favorite recipes are because the pages have stains on them where she spilled something while she was cooking. And those are the pages that I know contain her favorite recipes. And so when I want to remember my grandmother, and I want to feel what it feels like to have her close to me again, one of the things I'll look at is this old cookbook. And sometimes I will take out the cookbook and I will cook something from one of her favorite recipes. And that lets me feel connected to her. And that lets me I can hear her voice, and I can see her face, and I can see her in her kitchen, working at the table, standing over the cookbook with her measuring spoons in hand, and that's a really happy memory for me, and that makes me feel connected to her. And that's the kind of story that we tell each other when we are processing our loss. And we still, it's been 30 bunch of years since my grandmother died, and I can still feel that sadness. It's not as ouchy as it was back then, but I still feel it. I still miss her. She was a wonderful person. And so sometimes when we miss somebody, we will have a memento that reminds us of them. A cookbook, somebody's favorite keychain, somebody's favorite painting. I have my grandmother's pots and pans that she used to cook with, and those are really special. So I want you to think about someone that you have lost in one way or another, whether that's someone who has died or someone who has moved away. And I want you to think about how you connect, if you want to feel connected to that person like you used to. What is it that you do? What is it that you can do to make that happen? Now, if the person has moved away, you could call them, I suppose, or you could email or text or whatever. But for somebody you can't do that with, how do we connect with that? And for people who have died, for our ancestors, like my grandmother, they carried a lot of wisdom. And that wisdom is still useful today. And so my grandmother, if I set myself in the right sort of mind space, and I can close my eyes, I can hear her voice, and I can imagine what she would say to me. And I know how it felt when she hugged me. And that's a kind of listening to our hearts that we do when we're remembering someone who's gone, and someone who we've lost. So I want you to think about how you can do this, how you can do this exercise and think about someone that you've lost, whether it's your grandparents, one of your grandparents or great-grandparents, whether it's a cousin, whether it's a friend, whether it's a favorite pet, pets die more often, more frequently, younger than people most of the time. My first pet died when I was 6, and it was my first cat, and I was really sad, really sad. Um, and One of the things that helped me remember were the stories we told, and so we would listen to each other and tell silly stories about what the cat had done. So I want to encourage you to tell those stories and to listen when somebody's telling you a story about someone that they miss. Because it's really important for us to listen and to be listened to and to be heard. And I want you to know that you can always talk to me. I mean, we're on Zoom now, so we can set up a Zoom meeting and we can hang out and we can talk if there's something that you want to talk about, something you want to process. Because right now things are hard. Things are really tricky. And not leaving the house and not going to school and not talking to your friends and not talking to your teachers and the counselors and stuff at school, that can be hard. And if you need to talk to somebody, I'm here to do that. And you can, if you can get on Zoom, if you can get on this to watch me, you can find my email on the website and drop me a note, and I'll get back to you and I'll talk to you or I'll listen to you. All right? I'm your minister as well as your parents. I'm not just for the grown-ups. Thanks for letting me hang out with you today. I'm really glad that Miss Jess asked me to do this. And let's take a breath. Deep breath. Oh. And exhale. Oh, that feels good. And another one. There. Okay. Thank you so much. And I hope you're doing well. And I want to wish you a good journey on listening. Take care now. Bye.
I hope you and your family will take some time this week to talk about loved ones that have passed away and your family's ancestors. Remember to listen to those who came before us. Can you say the words with me for extinguishing the chalice? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. See you all next week when we start our month of healing. Till then, blessed be, my loves.